Welcome to everyone. This is Dr. Kishore Kumar. Today I am going to discuss the topic on cell cycle and its regulation. So everyone, we should understand what is cell and how many ways the cell can go for the cycling process and what are the different mechanisms that are activated during this cell cycling stage. So let's start to our topic. So first we need to understand where do cells come from. This is very important. If you understand from the basic, then we will go to a little more advanced how it is to be regulated. So here, where do the cells come from? Have you remembered anything? Yes, exactly. This is a very famous theory that was given by the Sweden and Schwann, that is cell theory, right? So according to cell theory, all cells come from pre-existing cells through the process of cell division, that we should understand. So all the new cells which are always come from the pre-existing old cells. The process what we call them as cell division. This was given by the Sweden and Schwann. The theory we call them as a cell theory. Right. So all cells may be the simplest bacteria or maybe the complex muscles or complex cells like muscle, bone or blood cells. The cells are always to be a single cell or to be a very complex cell, that we should understand. And the cells may comprise the whole organism or be just one of trillion cells. Right? If you take the bacteria will we will call it as a single cell. But if you take the humans we call them as a trillions of cells that are all together will make up of the tissues, organs, and entire human body. So you understood that where do the cells come from? That is from the pre-existing cells. Now, in this particular chapter, I am going to discuss about the following contents. First one, the basic introduction of cell division and stages of cell cycle, different checkpoints, and the growth factors and their effect on the cell cycle, and positive regulators and negative regulators. These are the different aspects I am going to cover on this particular topic. So what do you mean by cell cycle? Cell cycle is nothing but the repeating cycle of events in the life of cell. We call them as a cell cycle, right? So if you just imagine this, every hour about 1 billion cells die and 1 billion cells are made in our body. So the made in our body, that is nothing but they are arising in our body because of the process we call them as a cell division. This cell division is the process of cell cycle where exactly the events are to be in sequential manner. So you should remember that this is the cyclic events of the cell. We call them as a cell division. So coming to the organism, if you take any living organism, broadly we will classify into two different ways, either prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So what are prokaryotic, what are eukaryotic? Anyway, I am not going to discuss in this particular topic. Just I am trying to explain with respect to the cell cycle. So the first one, very primitive organisms, we call them as prokaryotic cells. These prokaryotic cells, their cell cycle occurs via a process called binary fission, right? Prokaryotic cell cycle process, we call them as binary fission. This binary fission is an asexual type of reproduction where DNA is copied and the cell splits, and the mother cell become two daughter cells. So you can see here the sequence of events. The cell, first the mother cell will go for the DNA replication. So after DNA replication, then the DNA has to be separated, and after that the mother cell has to be divided into two daughter cells, and finally we will get the two daughter cells. This we call them as in cytokinesis. So this is the process which is to be present in the prokaryotic cells. But whereas if you see the eukaryotic cells, when we say the eukaryotic cells, definitely eukaryotic cells are more advanced cells. Eukaryotic cells are more advanced cells when compared to the prokaryotes. And in eukaryotes, the cell cycle will be more complex when compared to the prokaryotes. So the complex characteristic of eukaryotic cell cycle can be divided into two phases or two periods, right? First one is interphase, second one is mitotic phase. So here the whole eukaryotic cell cycle, including human cell, all eukaryotic cell cycle will be divided into two parts. One is interphase part, second one is mitotic part. So if you see the interphase part again it is divided by three different phases. This we should understand. So clearly look into these structures, right? So interphase is divided into three different phases. First one G1 phase, second one S phase, third one G2 phase. So G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, these are the three phases which will together will form the interphase. And the second phase of the cell cycle, eukaryotic cell cycle, is M phase. That we call them as a mitotic phase. You can see here, this is a series of events, or this we call them as in cyclic events of the cell. We call them as in cell cycle. So G phase, S phase, G2 phase, and M phase. These are the sequential reactions that will going to be takes place for every cell before it is going to be a cell division. Now coming to the interphase. So interphase, as I discussed, composed of three stages: G1 stage, S stage, and G2 stage, where cell spends most of its time in this phase. So for suppose if cell wants to go for the cell division, then 90% of its time that can spend in the only interphase. Only the 10% of time will be dedicated to the mitotic phase. Then the cell will divide it. So here you just understand this is an interphase is very much important for each and every cell, because that can present in the 90% of its time in that particular phase. So often call them as a resting phase. But cell is not at rest. This is very important. On interphase, we will also call them as this is a resting phase. Why it is a resting phase? Because there is no cell division that is happening. But don't call them as which is to be on complete rest, because which is an active stage, right? That active stage, the events which are going to take place at this particular interphases are very important, so that it can be, if G1S, G2 phases are clear, then that will go to the mitotic phase. Cell is not dividing, but it is active. That's what. Even though it is in resting phase, we call them as a resting phase. Here the cells are not dividing, but they are active. Active in sense, each and every stage of G1S, G1S, G2 phases will have a different kinds of the roles. So if you see the few basic properties of these interphases, first one is G1 phase. The G1 phase will have the following characters. So first one, this is to be post-mitotic phase. Post-mitotic phase means after immediate cell division, this is the first stage which has to be the newly daughter cell which has to be enter into this G1 phase. Second important is chromosomes are unwound. This is important. Third is protein synthesis happens in this stage. And we can also observe the rapid growth of the cell. We generally call them as a cell size should increase. This is because of rapid growth. Because if it is, these are the pre-characters. If these are to be acquired, then it will start for going into the multiple cell divisions, and even cell organelles also be produced. So you should remember the few important points that in the G1 phase is, we call them as a post-mitotic phase, where chromosomes, cell organelles, protein synthesis can be synthesized and manufactured. Period of rapid growth can be happen in this, so the cell size should be increased. Then see the next phase. The next phase we call them as this is an. Then come to the next interphase, that is called S phase. The S phase will have the following characters. First one, synthesis. S stands for synthesis phase, where exactly the DNA replication and the centriole replication is taking place. And third one, the duplication of chromosomes. So all these are related with the DNA replication. So S stands for the synthesis phase. Synthesis phase which is related to a replication of DNA, a replication of centrioles, that will be taken place in the S phase. And the third phase we call them as G2 phase. So our G2 phase we also call them as invisible phase. Invisible phase or pre-mitotic gap phase. So where exactly the synthesis of RNA and protein continues for the larger production of proteins and required enzymes for the cell division, and the formation of macromolecule for spindle formation. Spindle formation related molecules will be synthesized in here, and cells prepare itself go into the mitotic phase. If G2 phase is ready for all its essential proteins and enzymes and the spindle formation, if all these events are ready in G2 phase, then only it can start entering into the M phase. We should understand one thing. So far we discussing about the interphases, that is G1, S, G2. But there is one more phase which we will call them as an G0 phase. G0 phase at the end of this can be present at the end of the G1 phase before to S phase. So if you see the cyclic events, on cyclic events, first G1 and G1 at the end of G1 and starting of the S phase, this G0 phase can be existing. So what is this G0 phase? G0 phase is nothing but cells leaves cell cycle. Or suppose cell it does not want to go, or it don't want to, or the cell is not interested to go for the cell division, then definitely the cell will enter into the G0 phase. This can be the staying at the G0 phase is to be on temporary or permanent, that is depending on the type of the cell. Example I have given is, but not necessarily dead. Whenever we think if the cell is going to be on G0 phase, if it is to be permanent, we don't think that that isn't dead, right? Because few type of the cells that will always after maturation, after cell division, that will go to G0 phase. Best example is neurons. So these neurons will not come back to the again the S phase once it has completed cell division. But other cells may directly enter into the S phase whenever the cell require the cell division, and it will go into the G2 and M phases. Finally, the cell division will take place. So those are all events which are related with the interphase. Now coming to the mitotic phase, we call them as mitotic events or M phase. So here I'm not going to discuss much about this mitotic phase because I'm trying to make another video for regarding mitosis and meiosis, different type of cell cycles. So on brief, I am going to give you a few important stages that is associated with the mitotic phase. Mitotic phase will be divided into 5 major substages: prophase, metaphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. In between, there is a pro-metaphase. So after that, cytokinesis can be taking place. These are very sequential reactions that will be going to happen in the mitotic phase. And finally, cytokinesis is the step where the parent cell becomes 2 daughter cells with identical genetical information. So this is what the mitotic events can be happen. Clear? Now, are you clear what I'm discussing? Because every eukaryotic cell cycle should have the 2 phases, interphase as well as mitotic phase. So interphase will be divided into 3 stages. First one G1, yes, G2 phase. And next third phase, if the cell does not want to go into the cell division, it will go and stay at some time, maybe the permanent, that is G0 stage. Finally, the M phase will have a different kinds of these stages where the chromosomal segregation, and finally the mother cell will divide it into 2 daughter cells, and where the cell division ends. Clear? Done. So what are the different experiments have done to understand this cell division regulation events? So here I have given a 3 basic experiments. They have done it. First one is studies of frog oocytes. You can see these are to be frog oocytes, which I have shown in the diagram. And second experiment is genetic analysis of yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And third one, even some experiments they have done in the archin embryos. So because of these 3 experiments, the scientists have come a conclusion that it has to be highly regulated. The regulation process will be involving many different kinds of the proteins, enzymes, and growth factors. Right? We will go into it. First one, cell cycle checkpoints. Before, from this, I am going to talk about its regulation. So the regulation part will be majorly depend on 3 major components. First one is checkpoints, second one is cyclins, third one is cyclin dependent kinases. Clear? So all cell cycle regulation can be divided or can be dependent on the 3 components. First one is to be checkpoints, second one is to be cyclins, third one is to be cyclin dependent kinases. Here I am going to speak one by one and their importance. First one is cell cycle checkpoints. These are the checkpoints, the name itself indicates. They will maintain the quality control mechanism. They can always check once the cell is entering into the next phase, it has to be checked whether the previous stage has done clearly or not, which is to be making a clear process, then only it can allow into the next stage. So these checkpoints verify whether the process at each phase of the cell cycle has been accurately completed before progression into the next phase. So you can see here, there are 3 major checkpoints that are existing in the human cell. One we call them as G1 checkpoint, second one we call them as G2 checkpoint, Third one is spindle checkpoint. So this is very important. And G1 checkpoint, we also call them as G1S transition. The name itself indicates that can be present at the end of the G1 and at the beginning of the S. So this G1 checkpoint will be important for the cell has to be transferred into the S stage. And second one, G2 checkpoint, we also call them as G2M transition. So where this can be present at the end of the G2 and at the beginning of the M. And even third checkpoint that can be present in between the metaphase to anaphase. So this we call them as spindle checkpoint. So you can see clearly here. So there are, as I discussed, there are 3 checkpoints. First one, G1 checkpoint. So this G1S, G2R interface, M is mitotic phase in any cell division, eukaryotic cell division, including human cell division. So G1 checkpoint, what is the function of this G1 checkpoint? G1 checkpoint has the following functions. So first one is it will check for the nutrients. Once the cell, if it is to be in G1 phase, then if it wants to be transited the S phase, definitely the G1 checkpoint has to be ensure that whether the cell has got the proper nutrients, whether the availability of nutrients is present or not. Second one is they can also check for the growth factors. And third one is there any DNA damage that can be taking place at the G1 checkpoint. If all these 3 events, are clear, then the G1 checkpoint will allow the cell to enter into the G2 checkpoint. Clear? So if at all, if anyone is not present, or if something, the DNA damage has happened in the G1 cycle, definitely this G1 checkpoint will not allow this cell enter into the S phase. Definitely that can enter into the Z0 phase. So where it will give certain time to recollect that correction of the DNA damage. And second checkpoint that can be present is G2 checkpoint. We also call them as G2M transition checkpoint, where it can check for the cell size, whether the cell has it's a proper proper size increased, whether the growth is rapid or not. That can be checked, this G2, and even DNA replication also it can be checked. So because the DNA replication majorly that can be taken place at the S phase, if the S phase is properly replicated, then that is enter into the G2, then G2, if it is properly checked, then which will enter into the EM phase. But here there is one important thing you should understand. If something happened to the DNA replication, definitely what will happen, it can initiate or it can sense with certain proteins like P53, and these proteins will activate apoptotic, and the apoptotic will directly kill this cell, because the cell don't want to give the faulty copy of DNA to the next generations. There will be 2 possibilities. One, either it can give chance to be recorrection of its DNA, or it can directly send to the apoptosis, where the cell will go for the self-death. Then next is, we call them as, this is metaphase checkpoint. All right, this metaphase checkpoint that can present at the anaphase to metaphase point. This is very important. That is ensure that chromosome spindle attachment is properly aligned or not, which is very important. So what does it mean? Whenever the cell enter, if all the events are successively done, then the cell has to enter into M phase. From M phase, it has to be go for the cell division. So where exactly the chromosomal has to be divided. The chromosomal has to be divided. Definitely, the spindle fibers has to be attached at the centromere. This has to be properly checked and properly aligned. Then only this can be allowed for the cell to go for the next telophase and finally into the cytokinesis. All right, these are the three different kinds of the checkpoints which are present in the eukaryotic cells. All right, coming to the second one, the cell cycle regulators are called cyclins. All right, I am going to discuss here everything. You should remember that major cell cycle regulators are these three different types. First one is cyclin, second one is cyclin dependent kinases, third one is cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. We should understand cyclins, cyclin dependent kinases, cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. These are the three different kind of proteins, enzymes. Cyclins are proteins, CDKs and CDKs are enzymes, and CDKs are enzymes will act will be a composition of protein in nature. These are the three events which are very essential for any eukaryotic cell cycle regulation. I'll start with the cell cyclins. So we call them as cyclins. So cyclins are the family of proteins which regulate the cell cycle. There are several types of cyclins that are active in different parts of the cell cycle and cause phosphorylation of CDK. So that is cyclin dependent kinases. So this we should understand. Cyclins are a group of proteins that are, their ultimate goal is to be phosphorylation of CDKs. Phosphorylation of CDK is directly leads to the activation of CDKs, that is cyclin dependent kinases. So if you see the different kinds of cyclins that can be present in each and every stage of the cell cycle are divided in this following manner. First one, G1 cyclins that can present at the G1 interface. Second thing is G1S cyclins. Third is S cyclins. Fourth is M cyclins. And fifth one is APC by C cyclins. APC by cytosome cyclins. So these are all should be present in the each and respective stages of the cell cycle. So we should clearly understood in this diagram. But suppose you take the various kinds of the cyclins at different levels. For suppose G1 cyclin, the name itself which can present in the G1. So the G1 cyclin, the maximum elevation or maximum synthesis can take place at the G1, right? And which can be present throughout the all stages of cell cycle. If you take G1S cyclin, that can their levels slowly increased and which will get maximum at the S phase, and it will again the levels will be down at the S phase itself. But if you take the S cyclin, the levels will start arising from the G1 phase and it will get maximum at the G2 phase, and finally it can be end at the initial stage of the M phase. You can also see the M cyclin that can be the levels are start increasing at the S phase and it will get maximum at the M phase, and after that it will slowly reducing its level at the end of M phase. These are the different kinds of the cyclins that can be present in the different stages where it will be important for the activation of cyclin dependent kinases. One more important complex that should be present. This we call them as an anaphase promoting complex cyclosome. So this is not exactly cyclin, but which is very important in the before it is entering into the karyokinesis, that is called cytokinesis, division of two cells. So this in short form we call them as APC by C. So what does it mean? So here the function, briefly I am going to explain the function of this APC by C. Generally the APC by C, which can in absence of this factor, so there is a protein that we call them as securin. Securin will bind to the separase. Separase is inactive. Once the separase is bind by the securin, the separase enzyme is inactive. So if the separase enzyme is inactive, what will happen? So there is a special kind of the protein that should be present to attach with the chromatids. We call them as, this is cohesin. Cohesin is bind by the separase, and if it is active, that can divide by the cohesin protein will be degraded and the chromatids will be separated. Right? So in presence of this APC, once the event, the M phase, we call them as an M cyclins are good, then that will be if all the essential events which are to be properly taken place, and this APC-C will be activated, and this activation of APC-C will directly add ubiquitins to the securin protein. Ubiquitin tags, we call them as an ubiquitin tags. These ubiquitin tags will add it to the securin protein. So after addition of this ubiquitin tags, the securin protein is targeted to the proteasome. This proteasome, we call them as a recycle bin of the proteins. Wherever any protein which is attached to the ubiquitin, that has to be targeted to the proteasome. The name itself indicates which can break down the proteins. So finally, which is breakdown of securin. If securin is absent, definitely the separase will be free, and this will go and bind to the cohesin, and this cohesin will be degraded and two chromatids will be separated. This is what the exact function of anaphase promoting complex cyclosome. Clear? So these are the different kinds of the cyclins that can be present. This data I have taken from the human cell. With regarding to the human cell, you can see there are nearly 10 different kinds of cyclins that are existing. They are named depending on their invention: A, B, D1, D2, D3, E, C, F, G, H. And each and every cyclin should have a different kinds of the CDK partners, that is cyclin dependent kinases. And these each and every one should have their role in the different stages. But anyway, you need not to worry all these things. I'll try to explain in a simple manner in the coming slide that you should be remember. Then that's all related with the cyclins. And second important factors are, we call them as cyclin dependent kinases. So cyclin dependent kinases, these cyclin dependent kinases which are very important, and their activation will be depend on cyclins, the respective cyclins. So alone a CDK is inactive, but the binding of cyclin activates it, making it a functional enzyme and allowing it to modify target proteins. So you should remember that this box is very important. We should always understanding what are the events which are going to be happening. So these are the phases. The phases which we discussed, the cell cycle phases: G0, G1, S, G2, M. And these are the cyclins. The second box will indicate cyclins, and third one is partner CDKs. This is very important as a competitive purpose, and this is also important for the to better understanding of the cell cycle regulation. But suppose G0 phase, the cyclin can be present is C, and where the partner of cyclin dependent kinase is CDK3. Even G1, the cyclins present in DE. So you should remember that cyclins, the very essential cyclins are well-known cyclins, are 5 different varieties. The all rest of the cyclins will also be present. You can, as I showed in the next slide, but these are the 5 important cyclins which will play the major role in the cell cycle regulation. These are A, B, C, D, E. So at the G1 phase, cyclin D and cyclin E is present. Their respective CDKs are CDK4, CDK2, and CDK6. Even S phase, cyclins are A and E. Their respective CDK is 2, CDK2. Even G2 interphase, cyclin A is present, and the CDKs are 2 and 1 can be partner CDKs that existing in the G2. M phase, cyclin B present, where CDK1 is present. So we should understand all these CDKs and cyclins. And here you should remember that all these cyclins and CDKs, these are evolutionary conserved proteins. Evolutionary conserved proteins mean we should understand that from yeast to humans, most of these, their structures are conserved, their sequences and their functions are conserved, except a small variation. And one important thing is CDK is cyclin dependent kinases. Kinase is an enzyme which can add the phosphate to the corresponding substrates. So the addition of phosphate will have the 2 fates to the substrate, whether it can activate or whether it can deactivate. Right? So that is the different kinds of the work which the CDKs can do. And the major thing is it can directly add the phosphate group and making the other protein needs to be active, or otherwise this after activation of CDK that can go and induce many different kinds of the cell cycle regulating proteins, and to which the finally the regulation process can be taking place. So the final one is cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. These are also be important. So kinase inhibitors, if the CDK is always active, or if the CDK is always activating enzyme, the process of cell division has to be fastened, and cell is going on dividing, and finally it's lost its control activity. This condition we call them as cancerous condition. So there are few inhibitors that can act on the CDKs and make the CDKs is to be deactivate, to be and deactive. This is very important because of the controlling events. Whenever the cell wants to divide, that particular time only the CDKs has to be activated, not all the time. Clear? So cell cycle progression is negatively controlled by the cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. That's what I explained. So these are involved in the cell cycle arrest at the G1 phase. Because of cell cycle inhibitors only, the cell has to be arrested at the G1 phase, and which is to be kept for some time in that particular phase. Whenever the positive signal has come, the positive signal we call them as positive regulators. So here few of the CDKI, I stands for inhibitor, then this is CDKs. So CDK inhibitor and CDKs, which there will be an important classification which will be present, and we should be remember that these few important things here. P16 that can be inhibited by CDK4 and CDK6 action, and there are many things. P21 which will be involved in DNA damage, where the cyclin E1 and CDK2 will be inhibited and its function is to be stopped, and P57 Of course, this is a well-known factor of inhibitor. This can be expressed as the improper cell division or damaged DNA or damaged or improper DNA replication. In that particular process, the P57 will be activated, and this will go and inhibit the CDK2 and cyclin 1, so that this further the cell stage will not to be progressed. So these are to be very essential inhibitors that can inhibit the various kinds of the kinases. Here P57, if there is a mutation in the P57, definitely the mutated DNA has to be forwarded into the daughter cells, and that the condition will existing in a many different kinds of the cancers. So this is all related with the inhibitors and their action on CDKs. So coming to the next component of my topic, that is positive regulators. What are the positive regulators? So far we discussed much about the cyclins and cyclin dependent kinases. These two cyclins and cyclin dependent components will come to positive regulators. Why? Because if cyclins, the respective cyclins is synthesized more, and that will go and activate their respective CDKs, and then finally the cell is progressed to the cell cycle. So these cyclins and cyclin dependent kinases, we call them as, these are the positive regulators for the cell division, and positive regulators for the cell division. And coming to the negative regulators of the cell division, here they can control the positive regulators, because this is also very important. The cell division, the process is important because of positive regulators, and if that can be properly controlled with the negative regulators. So there is a balance between the positive and negative regulators, then only the cell will be tightly regulated. The cell division has to be regulated. Here the controlling positive regulators, they include, example, few proteins that we generally call them as inhibitors, cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. Here I have given the RP protein, retinoblastoma protein, and P53 gene, that which I explained that in the previous slide. And some of the inhibitors, majorly these inhibitors on the structural studies, they are to be classified under two different groups. One is INK family. Example is inhibitors of kinases. INK stands for inhibitors of kinases, where example is P19 and P15. Then second category is CIP family. This is CDKs inhibitory proteins. In this category, P21, P57 will be placed. So this is depending on the structural point of view. This can be divided into two different classes. Right? It's clear. Now the positive regulators and negative regulators. These are to be highly balanced. Then only the cell division has to be taken place. And I think it has been finished. I tried my level best to give you a brief introduction of the cell cycle and their regulation. You should remember a few important points I'm going to tell you. First one is eukaryotic cell division, which is highly complex and which can be divided into interphase and mitotic phase. Again, the interphase will be the G1 phase, G2 phase, S phase, and M phase. Mitotic phase will be an anaphase, telophase, anaphase, metaphase, telophase, and finally cytokinesis. Right? And we should understand that there will be an important checkpoints or important points where exactly this can be regulated. We call them as checkpoints, where I have given a different kinds of the checkpoints. And majorly this regulation part will be taken care by the three important factors. First one is cyclin, second one is cyclin dependent kinases, third one is cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. Because of all these only, it has to be highly regulated, and if there is an imbalance between positive regulation and negative regulation, that can lead to cancerous condition. Okay, bye viewers, and we will again meet you in the next class.